Hey there. I've been working on my product pitches recently, and there's no better product out there to satiate the virgins than Sex 2. Wait a minute. Damn it! Super Mario Galaxy 2, Nintendo's bastard child apparently. The first Super Mario Galaxy was a smashing success, so in an unprecedented move for Nintendo, they actually developed a direct sequel to a 3D Mario game for once. That's pretty unheard of even today. Typically Nintendo only develops one, maybe two mainline Mario games per console before moving on to their next big idea. But in this case, I guess Galaxy was special enough to receive its own sequel. Yeah, that's right, f*** you Sunshine. There is a specific reason as to why Galaxy 2 exists, which we'll get to momentarily, but first let's talk about my history with this game. Unlike Galaxy 1, I don't have an oddly specific story as to how I learned about and purchased Galaxy 2. I saw commercials for it, got excited, and picked it up whenever I had the chance. Short and simple this time, but what did I think of the game? Well, let's take a deep dive and find out. This is Super Mario Galaxy 2. So after Super Mario Galaxy's release, Shigeru Miyamoto approached the development team with the idea of producing a follow-up of some kind for the title. It's unknown if it was going to be DLC, an expansion, or a digital-only title for the Wii Shop channel, but in the end the idea sort of made sense. Galaxy's space setting was so ingenious and creative that you could have near limitless possibilities for level designs and concepts, to the point where it was kind of a no-brainer to create something new with the premise. Originally under the titles of Super Mario Galaxy 1.5 and Super Mario Galaxy More, the game was going to carry over ideas that couldn't have made it into the first one, but as development progressed and more ideas started to be implemented, the team realized that their simple follow-up was quickly turning into a full-blown sequel. So like any smart businessman would, they slapped a 2 onto the project and called it a day. In a way, you could say Galaxy 2 is the Majora's Mask of Super Mario Galaxy, just without the constant fear of looming death watching over you. Super Mario Galaxy 2 was revealed at E3 2009, though it wouldn't be released for another year or so. But when it did, man, it racked in heaps of praise. The first Galaxy was revered too, but compared to Galaxy 2's near solid 10s all across the board, it's pretty obvious that people absolutely adore this game. That definitely isn't foreshadowing anything. For our story this time around, I hope you weren't thinking that this being a direct sequel would have any actual bearing on the plot, because we actually have a bit of a retelling of the first game's story in a way. Peach invites Mario to the castle to watch the Star Festival, Mario runs into a baby Luma who gives him the power to spin, Bowser kidnaps Peach, and you gotta go stop him. In a way, the story here is a sort of retelling / abridgment of the first game's plot, with only some differing details. This is most likely due to the universe getting reset at the end of Galaxy 1, thus causing the events of that game to occur again here, but that also never gets addressed directly, so that's pretty much speculation on my part. Anyway, as for some of those differing details, the plot is told through the storybook aesthetic for one, Bowser's fucking huge this time for some reason, and Mario is aided in exploring the galaxy by Lubba, my least favorite Mario character that I hate for no discernible reason. Maybe it's the eyes or that he's a star wearing pants, but either way I never liked this guy, especially if you were to compare him to Rosalina. Instead of using the Comet Observatory, Lubba offers to transport Mario across the galaxy through this spaceship that later turns into Mario's face, a face ship if you will. And from there you just do your standard Mario business, go from level to level, grab 70 stars, and beat Bowser in the end. As a whole, I'm a little indifferent to the story. I know in concept this is the same narrative we've had since the series started, but here it just feels really half-baked. It doesn't help that Galaxy 1's story was presented in a much grander way compared to this one's. You can especially see the differences in storytelling between the two games just by taking a look at Bowser. In Galaxy 1, he wanted to kidnap the princess and reset the universe into his own image. Here, he wants cake in his large. What a joke. Miyamoto has said in interviews that he wanted Galaxy 2 to have as little story as possible, which is fine I guess, this is Mario after all, but I just think Galaxy 1's story helped to give it a bit more of an identity compared to other games in the series, especially compared to this game where it feels like it just barely tries. I don't know, I think I'm a little bit justified of wanting some more plot on my funny platformers, but whatever, nobody plays Mario for the story, moving on. I do find it amusing though how both games start with the Star Festival. If you throw away the detail of this being a retelling of the first game, then you're left with the thought that Mario characters are actually 100-year-old immortal entities, and I just think that's fun to think about. Moving on, Super Mario Galaxy 2's gameplay is shockingly completely different from that of the first game. Just kidding. It's a sequel, so it makes sense that Mario would handle the same as he did in the previous game. Every move Mario had previously returns here. The spin, backflip, side flip, triple jump, everything is accounted for and they feel the same as they did before. The only real changes to the formula come in how the levels are designed. While the game's structure is still linear with a focus on gravity, There are far more straightforward 2D levels where you just hold right and not much else. In the previous game, levels were still fairly large despite being linear, but here the linearity almost feels like a bit of a detriment. That's not to say there aren't a fair share of those larger sandboxy levels, but as a whole, Galaxy 2 feels much more linear compared to the first game. You can even see the added linearity in how you actually select levels in this game. Rather than selecting a galaxy from a solar system and a dome, Galaxy 2 has a world map where you select which galaxy you want to play on as you progress more and more to the right until you eventually reach the final boss. There are 6 worlds with about 7 galaxies each, one of those being accessible after feeding a once again returning hungry Luma. In a way, this map concept is pretty similar to the maps in 2D Mario games like Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World. I think the concept is fine, though I was also perfectly okay with how Galaxy 1 handled selecting levels, especially when you realize that this map is just a straight line in the end anyway. Instead of the Comet Observatory, you have Starship Mario as a hub world, and it kinda blows. It's pretty meaningless when you get down to things. All you can really do here is give starbits to this bank toad that'll transfer them over to other save files, feed hungry Lumas because you can't do it on the map for some reason, gamble for extra lives, and talk to some of the galaxy's inhabitants if you really have nothing better to do. It's a novel concept, but there isn't much incentive to walk around the starship, especially when it becomes more and more cramped as you progress throughout the game. Sure, the Comet Observatory has less things to do when you get down to it, but A, it's pretty bright and cozy to walk around and hang out at, and B, it will always have that slight edge compared to Starship Mario for actually being necessary for level selection. When selecting levels is as easy as walking onto this platform and being sent to a world map like in 2D Mario games, then what's honestly the point of having a hub world at all? Speaking on some of the levels here, there are a lot more platforming-esque challenges compared to the first game. Let me explain. While the first game's sole intention was to blow your mind with wacky gravity mechanics and out-of-the-box level design, here the gravity is sort of downplayed and you're instead faced with more straightforward platforming obstacles that just so happen to be floating in space. Due to this, Galaxy 2 is a lot more difficult compared to anything that the first game threw at you. The first game wasn't painfully easy, but this one will certainly require a bit more attention. You can receive some assistance from the Cosmic Guide, who will complete that extra hard level for you should you die too many times, but using it will grant you a Pity Star or a Bronze Star as a reward, so I wouldn't suggest bothering with it. The Bronze Star doesn't add to your star total, therefore in the end you'll still have to complete that level on your own eventually, so just tough it out and keep at it. While Galaxy 2 is harder than Galaxy 1, it isn't impossibly punishing. I find the game's difficulty to be just right, and if need be, 1-ups are once again abundant should you need a bit of a pick-me-up. If anything, you can stock up on extra lives much easier in this game from those previously mentioned gambling minigames, and from these little bonus planets that are present in most galaxies. I mentioned how the level designs and concepts are really the biggest things that have been changed here, though once again the power-ups are fairly lame. Every power-up from the last game returns minus the Red Star and Ice Flower, and they're about as situational here as they were there, though I do think the new ones are actually pretty good. The Rock power-up allows Mario to roll into a boulder to hit certain objects or flatten enemies, and while it doesn't control very well, I still find it to be pretty neat. The drill is a drill, not much to say there, you just sort of drill through the ground and that's about it. And lastly, there's the Cloud Flower, allowing Mario to create 3 cloud platforms to jump off of while also giving him a slightly floatier jump and slower fall. There aren't a ton of new added power-ups, but the ones here are still pretty good, especially the Cloud Flower. However, we're obviously neglecting this game's biggest selling point, Yoshi. Look at him, he's on the front of the box and everything. Yoshi is fairly similar to how he was in Sunshine, minus the fruit time limit and stomach acid. He can devour enemies easily, flutter jump, and swing off these flower things. In specific levels, Yoshi can find his own set of power-ups that help to break the pace every once in a while. You got the Dash Pepper allowing the dinosaur to run at super speeds, the Blimp Fruit that inflates him like a balloon for a short moment, and the Bulberry that lights up pathways that would be inaccessible otherwise. In short, Yoshi's awesome to have here as an extension of Mario's abilities, and he no longer disintegrates in water, so that's a major plus. Throughout every level is a newly added collectible, the Comet Medal, which is necessary for unlocking that galaxy's prankster comets. There are 6 different types of prankster comets, though unlike the last game, the comet levels here aren't classified as they were previously. So for example, if a galaxy holds a purple coin comet mission, you won't know that before selecting the galaxy on the map. The comet missions are more so challenge oriented this time, making you do stuff like complete a level with these cosmic Marios chasing after you, finish a level under a strict time limit, beat a level with 1 HP, kill a ton of enemies quickly, beat a level where everything's speed is doubled, or collect 100 purple coins. I don't really find looking for the comet medals interesting enough to warrant the change from Galaxy 1's more randomized comet spawns, especially since the comets here will still show up randomly even after collecting the medal, but I'm glad that these missions are still here to add a fun spin on already established concepts. Each galaxy has about 3 stars within them compared to the last game's 6 stars, and the smaller number definitely makes the action pretty fast and frantic. This game is constantly throwing new ideas at you one after another, and it overall feels faster to finish compared to the first one. Though I do think the slower pace made Galaxy 1's levels a little more memorable compared to 2's, there are still a ton of standouts. Flip-Slop and Beatball at Galaxy do some fun platform switching mechanics. I love the Slide and Teletron Galaxy. Throwback Galaxy and Starshine Beach Galaxy have some nice callbacks to previous 3D Mario games, and Puzzle Plant Galaxy is amazing just for the music alone. Oh, and side note, I feel like I don't need to spend much time discussing the music for this game. It's Super Mario Galaxy music. Both games have amazing soundtracks, so let's just move on. Anyway, this game pretty much just throws amazing levels at you back to back throughout the entirety of its duration. But there are some stinkers. There are once again a few motion controlled gimmick levels, though thankfully there are a lot less of them this time around. The only type to return from the last game were the rolling ball missions, and while you don't have to be as precise with them anymore, they're still a pain to control. And instead of the manta ray surfing missions is Fluzzard, who controls pretty similarly, but obviously in the air rather than in the water. Occasionally this bastard named the Chimp will offer a challenge for you in certain galaxies. They're almost always high score based challenges testing to see how many points you can get before time runs out. And as a kid, I hated doing these levels, but now they're alright, I guess. In certain levels, you can take control of Luigi, who plays the same as he did in Galaxy 1, but after beating the game, you unlock the ability to play as him in every level, which is great. It's pretty cool that we can play as Luigi whenever we want to now, though he isn't as game-breaking as he was previously. This game also seems pretty adamant on making you try out this co-op mode. The first game had this too, but it's definitely given more attention here. Look, it's even on the back of the box. All it is having a player-controlled Luma follow Mario around, stunning enemies and picking up items as player 1 actually plays the game. It's pretty similar to, say, having a second player play as Tails in Sonic 2, so if you have a buddy around watching you play, then letting them try out the mode wouldn't hurt. The Luma can collect purple coins though, so that's pretty sweet. Precision rolling be damned. Well, nothing left to do except take on Bowser. His final boss fight is the same as other fights with him in the game, but with an added anticlimactic final phase that ends too quickly. Man, I wish this part lasted longer. It's so grand, but it just ends right before it's getting good. Anyway, after beating Bowser and saving the princess, the baby Luma accompanying Mario is returned to Rosalina, who makes a small cameo as the credits roll. I always liked it when games allowed you to play around with the credit sequences, and you can even die here if you glitch the game, so that's fun. After beating the game, you'll gain access to the special world, housing some of the more challenging levels in the game. This world also gives you more incentive to collect all 120 stars, as more and more galaxies will unlock to you as you gain more. Speaking of, what do you get for grabbing all 120 power stars in the game? Well, allow me to introduce you to one of the worst ways to extend playtime in video games. Getting all 120 power stars will add an additional 120 green stars to the previous levels. Nothing is different here, they're literally the exact same levels just with a random green star placed within them. This is super lame. This turns the entire postgame into one giant scavenger hunt with your only clue being a vague shimmer, so be ready to crank up the TV volume. Man, this is just boring. Sure, you get a super hard level as a reward for going all the way, but there are much better ways to extend playtime, and this just isn't how you do it. Now to be fair, the first Mario Galaxy did make you replay the entire game again as Luigi to earn an additional level, but being able to play as a brand new character is way more enticing than just scouring already completed levels for lone collectibles. But I do gotta hand it to Nintendo, this final level sure is a bitch. So, does Super Mario Galaxy 2 stack up as a well-earned sequel to my favorite game of all time? Well, yes and no. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a phenomenal game, packed to the brim with content, and it's absolutely worth your time. But there was just something about the first game that can't be topped for me. I think I know what that reason is though. In my opinion, Mario Galaxy 2 sort of Mario-ifies the first Galaxy if I were to explain it simply. It's much more colorful, which is pretty much the easiest way to discern this game from Galaxy 1. It wants to test your platforming skills, its story is practically non-existent, and its primary focus is more so on fun rather than anything else. That's perfectly fine, but for me, Galaxy 1's added attention to spectacle, atmosphere, and mind-blowing gravity mechanics make it my preferred game out of the two. That and the endgame in 2 does lessen it a bit. Seriously, the green stars are the worst. I don't know, that's just my opinion. It's definitely an apples to oranges kind of situation, but if you know me, I fucking hate oranges, so therefore Mario Galaxy 1 is my game of choice. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is still an amazing sequel to an amazing game. It adds so many great concepts and carves its own identity from the first game while still being fun from beginning to end. Sure, the green stars kind of blow, but everything else here is fantastic. I know I came across as a bit more critical towards this game, but don't let that discourage you from trying Galaxy 2 out. If Nintendo ever remembers that it exists first. That was a fun time playing some amazing games pretty much back to back, but I should probably get back to my product pitches. Sex 2 isn't going to sell itself after all, so let's take a note from Super Mario Galaxy 2's book to make it a little more enticing. We're going to be bathing in cash by the end of this.